was last night, and things have really gotten scary. Welcome back to the Game Clock. Last week was truly a week to remember in the sports world. I don't know if you guys could tell, but I'm feeling a little bit under the weather today. But that's okay, the show must go on. Starting off locally, varsity volleyball ended their season with a 3-0 win over Middletown. In football news, the Goldbacks clinched their division in Section 9 with a 21-14 win over rival Monroe Woodbury. Goldbacks started off red hot, up 21-0 at the half after sophomore quarterback Mason Hoover went 8 for 9 with 2 touchdowns. Unfortunately, he was ruled out of the game after taking a hit from behind. However, I talked to him a few days ago, and he says he has a mild concussion, so he will most likely be playing in the section championship. Back to the game. Monroe cut it close with 2 touchdowns off 2 fumbles by the Goldbacks. But Newburgh hung on, and the Section 9 championship will be played at NFA for the first time ever on Saturday, November 12th at 11 p.m. a.m. They'll play the winner of Monroe versus Middletown. Let's move on to pro sports. Starting off in the boxing world, there were 2 massive fights on Saturday. In top-ranked boxing, Vasily Lomachenko, the former undisputed lightweight champion of the world, is back. He scored a unanimous decision win over Jermaine Ortiz, setting up a potential title fight. Whatever type of boxing this is, the Jake Paul fight controversy has continued. This time, the problem child took on former UFC champion and all-time great Anderson the Spider Silva. The fact that this man thinks beating old UFC fighters is an accomplishment is a disappointment to the sport of boxing. Anyway, he defeated Silva by unanimous decision and then proceeded to call out Nate Diaz and the best boxer in the world, Canelo Alvarez, after. Who knows what happens next? In the UFC, we had a massive upset. Charles Oliveira, the lightweight champion of the world, was defeated by Islam Makhachev by submission in the second round. Also, Aljamain Sterling retained his bantamweight championship with a win over TJ Dillashaw. Now, onto your basketball update. The Knicks started off 3-1, have been knocked back to 3-3 after 2 losses to the Bucks and a few nights ago to the Cavs. Meanwhile, the Brooklyn Nets are 1-5. Yes, 1-5. And as a result, head coach Steve Nash has been fired. Onto the NHL. The New York Rangers looked incredibly shaky with a 4-game losing streak, but have picked it back up with back-to-back-to-back wins over the Stars, Coyotes, and the Flyers in overtime. Meanwhile, the Islanders are starting to shine. The Isles have a 4-game win streak with wins over the Rangers, Hurricanes, Blackhawks, and the defending Stanley Cup champion, Colorado Avalanche. The Devils, on the other hand, have dominated their last 4 games, wins over the Red Wings, Blue Jackets, Avalanche, and the Canucks. Enough about that. Let's move on to the MLB playoffs update. The World Series is up and in full swing. The first 2 games of the series were played in Houston. In Game 1, the Astros had a 5-0 lead but blew it to the Phillies. In the 10th inning, catcher JT Realmuto had the go-ahead bomb for Philly. They would end up winning 6-5. In Game 2, the Astros would again go up 5-0. This time, thanks to a strong pitching performance by Framber Valdez, the Astros won 5-2. Game 3 was not fun for Houston. The bats exploded on Lance McCullers last night as Philly hit 5 homers on him, giving the Phillies a 7-0 victory. Game 4 is tonight. Now let's get to the wrap-up. Normally, I wouldn't start this with a, quote, tank bowl, but this was such a good game I had to. The Falcons were facing off against the Panthers. Would you be surprised if I told you the Falcons choked? No? Well, it happens a lot. Anyway, the Panthers scored with 10 seconds left. However, there was an unsportsmanlike conduct on DJ Moore, which pushed the PAT back 15 yards. Shocker, the kicker missed it. In OT, the Panthers had another chance to win. They missed a game-winning field goal. The Falcons then drove down and nailed the game winner, giving them a 37-34 win. The New York Football Giants were riding a 4-game win streak going into their matchup against Seattle. The G-Men were favorites. However, the Seahawks reversed history on the Giants as they shockingly beat them 27-13. Let this sink in. A team that was supposed to be 5-12 at best is 5-3. The New York Jets had a tough test ahead of them. They faced the Patriots this week. As history shows, the Patriots owned the Jets, and they did it again, snapping the Jets' win streak, winning 22-17 at MetLife Stadium. The Los Angeles Rams should be in a state of panic. Once again, they were playing the 49ers. And once again, they lost to them. Christian McCaffrey absolutely torched the Dams. 3 touchdowns. Passing, rushing, and receiving. The trifecta. With the trade deadline, I demand the Rams to make some moves. In Indy, we had what was expected to be a very boring contest. And it kinda was until the 4th quarter. Colts were up 16-10 against the Commanders with under a minute left. Washington scored on an incredible touchdown catch by Terry McLaurin, giving the Commanders a 17-16 win. Because we are running out of time, here are the results. The Vikings beat the Cardinals 34-28. Dolphins beat the Lions 31-27. On Thursday Night Football, the downfall continued as the Ravens beat Tampa Bay 27-22. The Broncos beat the Jaguars 21-17 in London. Dak is back and helps the Cowboys roll Chicago 49-29. The Saints embarrassed the Raiders 24-0. The Eagles remain undefeated, beating the Steelers 35-13. The Titans beat the Texans 17-10. The Bills beat the Packers 27-17 on Sunday Night Football. And Halloween night on Monday Night Football, the Browns embarrassed their rivals, Cincinnati Bengals, 32-13. Teams out by are the Chargers and Chiefs. Now that just about does for... Wait a minute. Yesterday was the trade deadline. I'm afraid I have more breaking news. The main acquisitions out of the deadline were the following. Bradley Chubb to the Dolphins, TJ Hockenson to the Vikings, Jeff Wilson to the Bills, Chase Claypool to the Bears, Brian Burns and DJ Moore both stay in Carolina, and finally the suspended Calvin Ridley was traded to the Jaguars. Everyone breathe. That will do it for today's show. I'm JJ Seglio, and I'll see you next week. Horns up.